report. Let's further discuss this now with political analyst Dr. Fikile Vilakazi. Doctor, good afternoon and thank you for your time.
Good afternoon, Mfundo, and good afternoon to viewers at home.
It's a pleasure to have you with us. So today is in fact the deadline for the ANC to issue, or at least to hand over those documents, but they've since issued a statement registering their disappointment at the DA for what they term political gaslighting. Just for the benefit of the viewers, can you just give us a better context around this case? That we now arrive at a point where the ANC, which has for the longest time been at pains to explain that for them cadre deployment is not a phenomenon unique to just their political party, but is something that is done the world over.
Mfundo and viewers at home, just to remember why this case is an issue for the DA. The matter was brought to court to ask the African National Congress to reveal details regarding their cadre deployment policy. And the argument that the Democratic Alliance is making is that even if the ANC is a private organization, the cadre deployment policy does have effect towards the public, in a sense that if you are deploying ministers and councillors into positions of public service and they have to then perform service delivery activities, that affects the public. So it's important then that the records and the processes that result into those kinds of deployments are made public. And that is the argument, just to summarize it in terms of what the court is saying. And therefore, the implications are not necessarily private to the ANC, but they affect whether citizens have got houses, citizens have got food, citizens have got running water, citizens' basic services are taken care of. And that is the crux of the matter in this case.
Mm-hmm. Now, the ANC has indicated that they will comply come the end of business day, but there's another factor, and that is they have long indicated that even to the Commission of Inquiry, they've indicated that they couldn't find the minutes in the deployment committee for the period between 2012 to December 2017. So what is the likelihood that they'll receive anything worthwhile?
Look, I mean, the argument that Democratic Alliance is making is that the African National Congress should have said this. This is a matter that has been in front of the courts for about 3 years now, fellow South Africans. And the ANC has had an opportunity to respond through the court processes to indicate whether they have records or do not have records in this particular case. And of course, in terms of the perspective of the Democratic Alliance, what they have seen indicates that there could be records that the ANC is not revealing to the public. In that, when you read, for instance, you can see in some of the documentation where they say reading of the previous minutes and so on and so on. So that is their claim, and my sense is that I think the ANC is likely to attempt to drag this matter because they don't want to reveal matters of cadre deployment, mainly because of the concerns that we have been having in the public domain around the implications of cadre deployment to our lives as citizens of South Africa. We know that any political party, but in this particular case, the African National Congress as a majority party, would not want to deploy an ordinary citizen, towards public service once they win elections. And I think the DA at the center of this court application basically wants to move towards an abolition of the cadre deployment process within political parties, within the political system, to ensure that the public service is not arranged on the grounds of one's membership to a political party, but that when a person becomes a minister of social development, that they have the skills to do that. They have the merits to do that. They've got the expertise. And very often you find that in the last 30 years, for instance, what we have experienced as South Africans, ministers are deployed sometimes with no skills, no qualifications. We have been dealing with that in the public domain, where some people even fake qualifications to say they can deliver the services, they can build our roads, and they can clean our waters, but we have roads and bridges breaking down all the way. And that is the issue that the DA is worried about, to say, if you are going to deploy someone to public service, let those people have skills. It cannot be that you're just deploying someone mainly because they've been a political exile or because they are loyal to your policies and your ideologies, without necessarily having the skills to be able to deliver those services. So that is the crux of the matter here, fellow South Africans, that perhaps the DA is saying, and many other opposition parties to say, if you do away with this cadre deployment policy, we are likely then to reorganize the public service system, public administration, in such a way that we get the right people, get the right hands who are going to do the job that is needed, which is about transforming the public service, transforming public administration and delivering services to the people of South Africa.
So it would essentially be depoliticizing the administrative function within government to ensure there's professionalization, which is what the ANC and government currently keep speaking of, that they want to professionalize the public service. But just on that inability to find records of meetings for the past 5 years, is it honestly acceptable that the governing party would not be able to find a single person who sat in any of those meetings and perhaps was emailed those minutes who could now possibly share those with them?
It is impossible. It's impossible. It would be crazy if that is what is happening within the ANC, because it will be exposing the depth of the level of maladministration that is happening within the political party. It cannot be that you do not have records of a process that is so important for the country, where you are deploying people to serve in public service. And then you are being requested to say, can you reveal at least the minutes of the last 5 years or 10 years? And you cannot go back to your records and show that. So it will be ludicrous, in my view, if the ANC is not able to demonstrate these records. But let us hope that come 5 o'clock today, Mfundo and fellow South Africans, the ANC will bring the country into confidence and deliver those records to the DA. The DA is doing its job. The job of the opposition in the country is to hold the ruling party accountable. And I think in this particular case, this is what the DA is doing. We all want to know, how has the cadre deployment policy been going on in the country? Why is it that people have been deployed to deliver services, but fellow South Africans are unemployed? The majority do not have houses. And the rest is history. The list is long. Young people are unemployed. So we want to know, why is it that employment opportunities only arise at the time when there's elections? 2024 is around the corner. You can hear ANC programs and opportunities popping everywhere. And that is what is at the center. So if these records are not there, it will be a shame and an indictment to the voters that have been voting for the African National Congress for the last 30 years to say, how is it possible that you can be failing us in these ways? So let us hope and trust, Mfundo, that perhaps we are wrong. Perhaps the ANC has got the records and it is prepared to take the country into confidence in relation to the cadre deployment policy. And this is an opportunity that they have, in fact, to do that before elections.
Now, this is a very busy week for the ANC, because not only are they now having to hand over the records today, but the party is also launching its manifesto this weekend at a time when there are serious infrastructure challenges and a collection of revenue while we're overspending. We have a high debt ratio to GDP. I could go on and on. What should the party prioritize in their manifesto?
Public administration, is the biggest thing. Public administration, public service, we keep saying this. I know we sound like now a record that never ends. Go back to the policy that you have through the eye of the needle. It's as simple as that. They've got the framework. Reorganize the human resource framework within government and make sure that we deploy people, not just members of the African National Congress. South Africans have got skills. We've got graduates here that are unemployed, who've got financial skills, who've got public administration skills, who can get into the public service and are willing to do so. And reorganize the system. So that, for me, is the priority. Let us create jobs for South Africans, rebuild houses, take people from pavements, let people have decent housing. Let us go back and make sure that we give South Africans food, so that all of us have got a decent plate of food to eat every day. And that is the responsibility of public service. My recommendation would be that I think the manifesto of the ANC and the campaign towards elections has got to prioritize public administration. They must show us how are they going to reorganize that and hold their ministers accountable. Clean up the Zondo Commission, clean up through the Zondo Commission report by implementing it fully. Let people who belong to jail go to jail. Let ministers who really do not deserve to be serving in the cabinet go out of the cabinet because they're implicated on corruption. So let the ANC really put its hands where its mouths are. The policies are there, the language is there. What happened to step aside? Let us know. Can people step aside? We have been waiting since that time. No one has stepped aside. So those things are the things that I think they need to prioritize.
Dr.
Not just
Vilakazi?
as a rhetoric, Mfundo, but as implementation.
All right. Doctor, thank you very much for your time this afternoon. That was political analyst Dr. Fikile Vilakazi speaking to us.